We are joined now on the phone by Republican presidential candidate Dr. Ben Carson. Good morning, Dr. Carson.
Good morning.
Thanks so much for calling in. Let's talk about the poll numbers. There are some new poll numbers that I'm sure are making you smile this morning. First, there's this Gallup poll that was out yesterday, and it shows that you are the most likable candidate in the race. Everyone likes you. You are not just popular with Republicans, you're popular with all sorts of Americans. You have the highest favorability rating of any candidate, higher than Donald Trump, you're higher than Hillary Clinton, you're higher than Bernie Sanders. We're just showing the top four there. You're higher than Carly Fiorina, Rubio, Sanders. You have a 21% net favorability rating there. That has to make you feel good. How do you explain why you are resonating so much with voters across the gamut?
I suspect it's because I'm not a politician, and people don't like politicians. You know, they like people who are straightforward and people who are like them. And, you know, that's the way I'm going to continue to be. I'm never going to be a politician. And, you know, we have such serious issues to deal with in this country right now. And, you know, I'm going to continue to focus on those serious issues and not get caught up in the political, garbage that is distracting. Because, you know, right now I think many people recognize that we're on the precipice of disaster. And we just can't continue with the same stuff, be a Democrat or Republican.
And when you say that we're on the precipice of disaster, what do you think is the biggest looming disaster?
There are several, but one of the things that very seldom gets talked about is our financial foundation, which is very precarious right now. Do you hear anybody talking about the fiscal gap? You don't hear any of the traditional politicians talking about that, probably because they want to get reelected. But, the people have to understand what's going on in our country in order to make wise decisions. This would be a great thing, for instance, for CNN to start talking about if you really wanted to be of service to the people.
Well, look, CNN talks about the news every day.
But not about the fiscal gap.
We talk plenty about the fiscal gap and about the economy. But I know what you're referring to, Dr. Carson, and so let's just get it out of the way. I mean, let's talk about this investigation into your childhood and your past. And it's something that many, many people are interested in because you have a fascinating childhood story. You grew up poor in Detroit, and you've written about it in your autobiography called Gifted Hands. And in particular, you talk about how you overcame what you called your pathological anger, which you describe as a disease. And that's interesting to hear from your medical point of view. And you have several examples of what you did in your past. You say you punched a classmate in the forehead while holding a metal lock in your hand. His name was Jerry. You almost hit your mom with a hammer over a pair of pants, I believe, that you didn't like. You threw a rock at a neighborhood kid, you say, breaking his glasses, smashing his nose. Then in the most violent episode, you say that when you were 14, you almost killed your friend Bob with a camping knife. You tried to stab him in the stomach for changing the radio station. Now, as you know, CNN has been trying to find people who were involved in these incidents or witnessed these. They've tried to find Jerry.
And tell me what makes you think that you're going to find those specific people. Tell me how your methodology works, because I don't understand it.
Okay.
How you go and talk to people primarily who knew me in high school, who don't know anything about, for instance, the lock situation that occurred at Wilson Junior High School. I don't understand how talking to people who knew me, particularly after the time that I had become a much more calm person, how does that corroborate the story that I'm lying about this?
Yeah,
I want to know what the methodology is there.
Oh, okay. I'm happy to explain what Maeve Reston has explained to us. She and another reporter went back and did talk to your elementary school friends as well as your junior high school friends. I believe it's all laid out actually on CNN.com.
I saw your article. I didn't see any elementary school friends there.
They say
this is a bunch of lies. This is what it is. It's a bunch of lies attempting to say that I'm lying about my history. I think it's pathetic. And basically what the media does is they try to get you distracted with all of this stuff so that you don't talk about the things that are important because we have so many important things. And, you know, I'm not proud of the fact that I had these rage episodes, but I am proud of the fact that I was able to get over them.
Look, of course.
And my message has been that you can escape from that kind of angry.
Yes,
And,
people are
you know,
resonating with that
some of the
message.
victims were members of my family. I understand that. I will not let them be victimized again by the media. And if you choose to believe that I'm incapable of these acts, I guess that's kind of a compliment to me. That's good.
Look, people are believe that it's fascinating to hear about your story of transformation, how you went from an angry young man to the soft-spoken doctor, renowned surgeon that we see today. But what's interesting is that our reporter did go to your campaign to ask, can we talk to these people? And your campaign wasn't willing to make them available. This is the seminal story of your youth, of how you. Why not? Why can't we talk to them?
Victimize these people by exposing them to you.
How is it victimizing them by saying, tell us more about this story? We're interested.
The story is well documented. If you choose not to believe it, if it doesn't fit the narrative that you want, that's fine, okay? Let's let the American people decide.
But Dr. Carson, your story has changed. For instance, first you say that Bob was your close friend who you almost killed. And then yesterday you said, well, actually, his name wasn't Bob. I changed the names. And that's fine. People do that all the time, Dr. Carson, in their memoirs.
I changed names throughout all the books,
yes,
even of patients,
people,
because unless I have specific permission from them to use their names, that's an inappropriate thing to do.
Of course. And people change the names in their memoirs all the time, but they note that. They note that at the beginning if they say that fictitious names are going to be used. But nevertheless, then you changed it to say that he was not actually your close friend. He was a family member. So
he was a family member.
Okay.
And, you know, I really don't want to expose him further. You know, talk to him. You know, he would prefer to stay out of the media. And I think I want to respect that. What I really want to do is help people, American people, although they seem to understand it a lot already, that one of the tactics that is used by you guys in the media, particularly when someone is doing very well, is let's find a way to get them distracted and get all the people distracted so that we can get away from the real issues. And I'm simply not going to allow that to occur.
Look, Dr. Carson, I know you call this tactics. It's called vetting in politics. You know it well, just from the short time that you've been involved in vetting campaigns.
Is that what was done with the current president? Is that what you guys did with him?
Yes, as a matter of fact.
No, you did not. Give me a
President Obama's autobiography, Dreams of My Father, was also vetted. You will recall, Dr. Carson.
Give me a break.
Dr. Carson,
are you kidding me?
Don't you remember that there was a whole question about his girlfriend and that people went back to try to find the president's girlfriend, and it turned out that she may have been a composite character, and that was revealed, and the president had to talk about that.
You all did with the President Obama doesn't even come close. Doesn't even come close to what you guys are trying to do in my case. And you're going to just keep going back, trying to find, he said this 12 years ago. He said, you know, it is just garbage. We have too many things that are important to deal with.
Look, Dr. Carson, it speaks to, obviously, it's an interesting story, and it is the seminal story of your youth, which is why people are interested. But mostly, it is about vetting, and it is trying to find out if candidates are fact-based and if they can be trusted and if they're telling the truth.
Okay, so you've done your job, okay? Kudos.
So
let's move on.
But okay, but last, does Bob exist? Is Bob a real person?
That's not the real name, but yes, he's a very real person.
And
I talked to him yesterday.
And so, wouldn't it be interesting to hear his version of, or how he felt during this event?
It would be if he wanted to expose himself, and any of the other people. The person who was hit in the forehead with the lock, the person whose glasses were broken. You know, hopefully your story has gotten out there and they can hear it. And if they want to expose themselves, they're perfectly welcome to do it. But I will not be the source of victimizing them.
Okay, so you don't believe that we will be able to find any of the people who witnessed or were involved in the events?
They may come forward on their own. We'll see.
Okay.